Unleashing action and intrigue, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 takes you on a thrilling ride as Ethan Hunt and his IMF team battle against the Entity, a formidable rogue AI. With a star-studded cast and heart-pounding suspense, this 2023 American spy film is a must-watch for fans of the Mission Impossible series. But before the episode starts, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's get started. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is a 2023 American spy action film directed by Christopher McQuarrie, from a screenplay he co-wrote with Eric Jendriesen. It is the sequel to Mission Impossible Fallout 2018, and the seventh installment in the Mission Impossible film series. It stars Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, alongside an ensemble cast including Hayley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, Esai Morales, Palm Klementieff, Mariella Garriga, and Henry Czerny. In the film, Hunt and his IMF team face off against the Entity, a powerful rogue AI, and fight to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. In January 2019, Cruise announced that the 7th and 8th Mission Impossible films would be shot back-to-back, with McQuarrie writing and directing both. Returning and new cast members were announced soon after, and Lorne Balfe, who composed the score for Fallout, returned to score. Filming began in Italy in February 2020 but was halted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It resumed later that year and wrapped in September 2021, with other filming locations including Norway, the United Kingdom, and the United Arab Emirates. It is the first film in the series since Mission Impossible 2, 2000, not to involve J.J. Abrams, and is the first film in the series to not be produced by Abrams' Bad Robot Productions since Mission Impossible 3, 2006. With an estimated budget of up to $291 million, it is one of the most expensive films ever made. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 premiered on the Spanish Steps in Rome on June 19, 2023, and was theatrically released in the United States on July 12, 2023, by Paramount Pictures. The film received critical acclaim and has grossed $567 million worldwide. However, its expensive overall budget and competition from the Barbenheimer cultural phenomenon, as well as sleeper hit Sound of Freedom, contributed to its label as a box office disappointment. A direct sequel, Dead Reckoning Part 2, is set to be released on June 28, 2024. The next-generation Russian submarine Sevastopol employs an advanced AI, activated by a two-pieced cruciform key. The AI deceives the crew into attacking a falsely hostile target, only to fire its own torpedo back on itself, sinking the ship and killing all aboard. IMF agent Ethan Hunt travels to the empty quarter of the Arabian desert to retrieve one half of the key from disavowed MI6 agent Ilse Faust, who carries a bounty from an unknown source. Ethan retrieves the half key and fakes Ilse's death. Back in Washington, D.C., Ethan infiltrates a U.S. intelligence community briefing for Director of National Intelligence Denlinger to discuss the rogue AI. Director Eugene Kittredge recounts how the Entity has achieved sentience and can manipulate major defense, intelligence, and financial networks of the world at will. World powers compete to obtain the key to control the Entity, though the exact means of controlling it are unknown. Revealing himself and exposing Kittredge's bounty on Ilse, Ethan states his intention to destroy the Entity. Ethan and his IMF teammates Benji Dunn and Luther Stickle travel to Abu Dhabi International Airport to intercept the holder of the other half key despite knowing they will be racing against all world powers, including the US. Ethan evades US agents in pursuit of the holder, but the half key is unexpectedly stolen by Grace, a professional thief. Concurrently, Luther and Benji disarm a hoax nuclear device. Ethan suspects foul play after seeing Gabriel, a sadistic entity liaison with ties to Ethan's pre-IMF past. Aborting the mission, the team scatters while Grace escapes to Rome. Grace is apprehended upon arrival, where she is rescued by Ethan from local authorities, U.S. agents, and an entity operative named Paris. Grace again escapes, however Ethan rendezvous with Luther and Benji, and Ilsa rejoins them. With Benji and Luther providing support, Ethan and Ilsa follow Grace to Venice where they infiltrate a party held by the arms dealer Alana Mitsopoulos. With the party masquerading as a brokerage set up by the entity, all groups disclose their role in acquiring the complete key. Grace had been hired by Alana to steal one half to combine with the other she possesses, which will be sold to her buyer the next day on the Orient Express. Through the entity, Gabriel proclaims that he will possess the key the following day regardless of any outcome, and that it has also determined either Ilsa or Grace will die. Ethan unsuccessfully attempts to dissuade Alana from the sale, allowing Gabriel and Grace to walk free. Ethan pursues Grace, but the entity impersonates Benji and leads him into a fight with Paris, whom he subdues but spares her life. Meanwhile, Gabriel incapacitates Grace and kills Ilsa, devastating Ethan. A remorseful Grace agrees to impersonate Alana and take back the key during the sale. Luther leaves for an off-grid location to investigate the traces of the entity in his hard drive, reminding Ethan to spare Gabriel for information, despite his declaration of vengeance for Ilsa's death. On the train, Gabriel kills the engine crew and destroys the throttle and brake. With Paris, he meets Denlinger, who divulges information only he knows in an attempt to form an alliance between himself and the entity. Originally an advanced cyber weapon developed by the United States, the entity overperformed when it infiltrated the Sevastopol and subsequently went rogue. The complete key unlocks a chamber inside the vessel which contains the entity's source code, allowing it to be destroyed or controlled. Gabriel nevertheless kills Denlinger and attempts to kill Paris, who the entity has determined will betray them after Ethan spared her life in Venice. Impersonating Alana, Grace brings the key to the buyer, who is revealed to be Kittredge. She negotiates a $100 million sale and protection for herself, but ultimately decides against it, pickpockets the key from Kittredge, and flees. Ethan parachutes onto the train to save Grace from her pursuers, but Gabriel acquires the key. Ethan battles Gabriel atop the train, but he escapes and detonates a bridge ahead. Grace and Ethan detach the locomotive from the rest of the train, saving the passengers. Paris rescues both from falling, then tells Ethan the key's connection to the Sevastopol. Grace informs Kittredge of her intent to join the IMF. Ethan flees the wreckage by paraglider with the complete key, which he had taken during his fight with Gabriel, and rendezvous with Benji to continue the mission. As of September 24, 2023, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 has grossed $172.1 million in the United States and Canada, and $395.4 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $567.5 million. Variety reported that given the film's massive budget, it would likely not turn a profit in its theatrical run, later estimating that it would lose the studio around $100 million if it did not cross $600 million worldwide. In September 2023, it was revealed through UK tax filings that Paramount had received a total of £57 million, $71 million, in COVID-19 insurance payouts related to the movie. In the United States and Canada, Dead Reckoning Part 1 was initially projected to gross around $90 million from 4,327 theaters over its first 5 days, as well as another $160 million from 70 international territories, for a 5-day worldwide debut of around $250 million. The film made $15.5 million on its first day, including $7 million from Tuesday night preview screenings, and $8.3 million on its second after making $16.7 million on Friday weekend, and 5-day estimates were lowered to $54 million and $78 million, respectively. The film went on to debut to $54.7 million in its opening weekend and a total of $78.5 million over its first 5 days, just behind the second film's $78.8 million in 2000. While the film fell short of expectations after it turned out a much lower opening weekend than expected, Deadline Hollywood noted that unlike Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, 2023, another near 3-hour film that cost around $300 million and opened to $84 million over its first 5 days, Dead Reckoning Part 1 benefited from better critic and audience scores. 129. Despite that, the film dropped 65% to $19.4 million in its second weekend, finishing fourth behind newcomers Barbie and Oppenheimer and holdover Sound of Freedom. Some outlets noted that the film's unexpected box office drop could be attributed to seating IMAX screens to Oppenheimer, as well as business going to the Barbenheimer doubleheader phenomenon despite Sound of Freedom also outperforming it domestically. It made $10.6 million in its third weekend and $6.7 million in its fourth, finishing in 5th and 7th place, respectively. This was the end of today's episode. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and do not forget to like the video.